Peter Thiel, who co-founded PayPal, built the CIA surveillance system, installed a vice president, took $40 million from Jeffrey Epstein, and has openly said democracy doesn't work. And I'm curious why that's not on the news every single night. Thiel co-founded PayPal with Elon Musk, sold it to eBay for $1.5 billion, and in 2003 he started a company called Palantir, named after the Seeing Stones in Lord of the Rings, the ones the Dark Lord Sauron used to spy on everyone and corrupt anyone who touched them. And he named a surveillance company after that on purpose. Most villains at least try to be subtle. The CIA gave Palantir its first investment through a fund called Thiel that has received $1.2 billion of your tax dollars since 2011. So we help fund a surveillance company that now charges the government nearly $1 billion a year to use our own data against us. We paid to build the thing that watches us. Cool. Palantir builds the software that the CIA, the NSA, the FBI, and ICE all use to track people, and ICE paid them $30 million to build something called Immigration OS. It pulls your passport, your social security number, your tax records, your license plate scans, and gives you a score like a credit score, but for whether you get deported. The Israeli military uses Palantir's AI to identify targets in Gaza. UN report found it was used in what they called unlawful use of force, causing mass civilian casualties. This is a company launched with your tax dollars being used to decide who lives and who doesn't. Thiel has said in writing that he doesn't believe freedom and democracy are compatible. He follows a philosophy called the Dark Enlightenment that says democracy is a failed experiment. Society should be run like a corporation with a CEO king at the top. A government is supposed to work for the people. We literally invented this country on that idea, and he wants to replace it with a subscription. We never agreed to that, we can't cancel. One of his side quests is giving private lectures, warning about the Antichrist, which he describes as someone who uses surveillance and fear to control the world, and then points at Greta Thunberg as if the teenage activist risking her life to bring food to the people whose lives his technology is destroying is the problem. Thiel mentor J.D. Vance at Yale hired him, gave him $15 million for his Senate race, the largest single donation in Senate history. And Vance went from calling Trump America's Hitler to becoming his vice president. Apparently for $15 million you can just buy a vice president. That must be on the secret billionaire menu. He's the anchor investor in a fund that builds charter cities, privately governed zones with their own laws and no democracy. They built one in Honduras. The president who approved it was convicted of trafficking 400 tons of cocaine, and Trump just pardoned him. Thiel-backed companies have been exploring Greenland since 2019. The ambassador to Denmark is Thiel's PayPal co-founder, and Ronald Lauder, the billionaire who John Bolton says put the idea of buying Greenland in Trump's head, is now quietly buying up Greenlandic companies through a Delaware shell company. And if that wasn't bad enough, Thiel appears 2,200 times in the Epstein files. They had a 5-year relationship, over 2,000 messages. Epstein invested $40 million in Thiel's fund through former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak. That investment is now worth $170 million, the single largest asset in a dead sex trafficker's estate, held in a trust Epstein signed 2 days before he died in a cell where the cameras weren't working. Through Barak, Thiel and Epstein both invested in a company called Carbine that handles 911 calls. So when you call for help in certain cities, your data flows through a company funded by a surveillance billionaire, a former Israeli prime minister, and a convicted sex trafficker. So just to recap, one guy built the surveillance system, collected the data, helped pick the targets, took money from a sex trafficker, installed the vice president, doesn't believe in democracy, is building a private country, named everything after a dark lord, and lectures people about the Antichrist. And somehow he's not the main character on the news. He's not even a side character, and nobody's even asking. We've all seen some version of this movie before.